Greetings everybody and welcome to Madrid Ball. I hope you all are doing good. Real Madrid came off with another memorable night at the Santiago Bernabeu, and what can we say, it was a heart-pounding experience to watch our favourite team get over the line. It was a roller coaster ride. Throughout the match we had to go through a number of emotions. We were fearful, we were panicking, we looked dejected after Chelsea scored the third. We were on the brink of humiliation, but you know what? You can never count out Real Madrid, even in your wildest dreams. The football gods were once again on the side of the Los Blancos. We showed the English why Real Madrid are the kings of the UCL, why we have a crown on our badge. We snatched a semi-final spot just when everything was looking dull and gloomy, and that is why this victory is surely down to the winning mentality, the winning DNA that Real Madrid possess, and of course the individual quality of a few generational players who have served the club, putting their blood, sweat and tear on the line. So in this video we'll do the post-match analysis of Real Madrid versus Chelsea. We'll talk about the important happenings of the game, and without further ado, let's get started. And having a look at the lineup, there was Courtois in goal. In the back four we had Nacho, Alaba, Carvajal and Full-on Mendy. In the midfield we had Cruz, Casemiro, Valverde and Luka Modric, and in attack we had Benzema and Vinicius Jr. And we skipped the shout-out section today because none of you had predicted a 3-2 scoreline in favour of the Blues, but if we just shared some thoughts on the starting 11, this was the carbon copy of the lineup that Ancelotti had fielded at the Stamford Bridge. Of course, Militao was the only one missing, but in terms of tactics, Ancelotti wanted to replicate what he had done in the previous week. He must have hoped to dominate the midfield once again with his rested veterans, but what we did see was that Thomas Tuchel was much more prepared this time round. And quite frankly speaking, all of us were expecting a strong response from Chelsea. We knew that the current holders of the UCL were not going down without a fight, and as we saw, Tuchel was spot on with his tactical tweaks. He put Reece James in the right centre-back position instead of wing-back. Him and Loftus-Cheek would have each other's back when one went forward to join the attack. Tuchel also introduced Timo Werner as an extra attacker, emphasising more on pressing from the front. You can see in this picture, you would find a lot of Chelsea players putting intense pressure on the Real Madrid defenders. They found it difficult to play from the back, and what we also saw was the pressing in the middle of the park was much more organised compared to what we saw in the first leg. So these tactics were useful in forcing turnovers in the midfield and were very helpful in retaining possession quickly. We also saw that Chelsea had more of the possession in the first half and Real Madrid had more focus on defensive organisation. They didn't put in a lot of effort to take charge of the game, and this is where we can criticise the management of Carlo Ancelotti. It just looked like the attitude wasn't quite up to the mark. Maybe the 2-goal cushion allowed a bit of complacency to creep in, and Real Madrid for a long period of time kept living off the edge. So the first half was a warning sign for Ancelotti. Attacking wise we couldn't conjure anything special. Benzema was taken care of and Vinicius couldn't produce anything either. Ancelotti was also clearly missing the presence of Eder Militao in defence. His diminutive presence in the back is somewhat underrated by people who do not follow Madrid, but we as Madridistas who watch the team week in, week out know exactly what the Brazilian brings to the table. His aerial prowess, his speed, his physicality, these are the elements that Real Madrid missed defensively, and as we saw, Madrid looked quite shaky and out of depth in defence. So the Los Blancos really needed a response in the second half. They needed to figure out a way to control the proceedings, but to our misery, Chelsea started the second half with the same attitude and desire to take the game to Madrid. They again were on top. The pace of the Chelsea attackers was turning out to be too much for the defenders, and as we saw, we were being punished time and again. When Chelsea scored the third at that point, many of us were left exasperated. We couldn't believe what was happening in front of our eyes. We all thought a monumental bottle job was in motion. Ancelotti as well was a tad bit late to make those changes, but thankfully he had enough time in hand to change a few things tactically. The introduction of Camavinga and Rodrygo completely turned the tide for the Los Blancos. As for Camavinga, his energy in the middle, the way he was covering the ground, the way he was breaking a play was absolutely brilliant. He's such a young player, but to have the elite mentality, to come in under so much pressure when the team was crumbling, and to play in the way he did is truly commendable. Also, we can see Modric is a different beast altogether when he has runners alongside him. He too feels much more liberated, and when Modric is on song, it's just like poetry in motion. He's an absolute gem of a player, Modric. The way he set up the first goal of the night was jaw-dropping in its own right. It was a cross from the the outside of his foot and it was executed to perfection. The cross had just the right amount of flight, it was perfectly weighted. It truly was one of the best crosses that I have ever seen in my life. And to do that under so much pressure is simply world class from Luka Modric. The way he makes the extraordinary stuff look so easy is a mark of a mercurial talent, and Madridistas, enjoy Modric while you can, cause he's a generational talent someone will surely miss when he hangs up his boots. But continuing on that piece of play, Rodrygo obviously turned out to be the real difference maker on the night. It just seemed that the Brazilian has something extra in his locker when it comes to the Champions League. We have seen him score similar goals against Inter in the past. He looks really turned on when it comes to the UCL, and yesterday his pace and calmness came to the rescue of Madrid. He scored from the outrageous delivery of Luka Modric, but his technique to get it on target also deserves appreciation. It certainly wasn't easy to execute that running at pace, but thankfully all fell in place and Real Madrid were given a lifeline. The goal suddenly shifted the momentum in favor of Madrid. The crowd had again started believing. We could feel Real Madrid were coming back in the game. They didn't get their heads down and refused to keep getting hammered. They managed the extra time well, and to tackle these clutch moments, we had the most clutch duo in the world at the moment. It's Benzema Vinicius. The duo has absolutely ran rice this season, and just in the right time, Karim the Dream once again reminded the world why there is no other candidate to win the Ballon d'Or this year. It continues his scintillating goal-scoring form, and it's truly an honor to watch Benzema lead the side to glory week in, week out. So it was an excellent game to watch for the neutral. Chelsea put up a valiant display and would return to London with their heads held high. They would be proud of the performance, and as for Real Madrid, they somehow managed to keep the title hopes alive, and now we must wait to find out who would be opponents in the semi-finals. Would it be Chelsea? Would it be Atletico? We shall know in a few hours, but what we do know is that Real Madrid are just 3 games away from getting their hands on the elusive UCL trophy, and going all the way is certainly not beyond our imagination. So those were my thoughts on the game, and let's conclude this video by hearing the thoughts of Carlo Ancelotti. The coach assessed the performance of the team. As he said, we've got through because we showed the energy, particularly towards the end of the game, to keep ourselves in it. All the players stood up and were counted upon, and it was a tough night. We didn't deserve to be 2-0 down. We struggled on set pieces because we were missing our best player in that department, who is Militao, and what's more, their first goal came from a rebound. We didn't show the desire to score goals, and after going 2-0 down, the team suffered mentally. I can't explain any of the rest of it. The magic of the stadium helps the players to never give in. Then Ancelotti was asked about the substitutions that changed the course of the game, and he replied, "I've got to keep a cool head and carefully assess what has to be done. I made the changes to try and give us a bit more energy. I then had to bring in Nacho and Vinicius Jr. off because they couldn't continue. There's nothing wrong with Benzema. Chelsea put an awful lot of effort into their press, and that gave us an edge in extra time because we were fresher than them at that stage." And lastly, the manager had some words of praise for Rodrygo and Camavinga. On Rodrygo, he said he does things differently when he comes on. He's done it a lot. He did it against PSG and again today. He's a young lad. He needs time to mature, but I'm very happy with him. And about Camavinga, the manager said he could be a starter, but it's clear that when he comes on, he adds a lot of energy. Whenever matches drop in intensity, you can change the match with a fresh Camavinga. So those were the thoughts of the coach, and that concludes the post-match analysis of Real Madrid versus Chelsea. Do let me know what were your thoughts on the game, and what were the things that caught your eye, right in the comments below. I'll see you soon. Till then, take care. Glory to Madrid, and as always, a la Madrid.